Today I'm talking about 10 protocol. They are an Ethereum layer 2 that delivers smart transparency, the last missing feature of the new internet, according to them. What they do is they scale, again, a layer 2, and they encrypt Ethereum to unlock its full potential. All right, when I say full potential, what do I mean? Well, I mean these things. With 10, you can make AI native applications, you can do iGaming, you can have privacy preserving smart contracts. It is all possible now, my friends, with 10. And how it does all this is through TEEs, which I will explain in just a second. But before I explain these TEEs, let's talk about 10's background. So, like I said, 10 is a layer 2, and they have raised 9 million in funding. But the important thing I wanted to mention here is that over half of 10 senior staff hails from R3, which developed the leading tokenization platform, Corda. The reason why this is important is because Corda/R3, this is a protocol platform that a lot of the TradFi uses. So if I show you this chart here, R3's private network dominates the RWA space. So this is billions of dollars in RWA, stablecoins, for example. And R3 is the largest. The only one that gets close is Provenance, which I've never heard of before, but I'm sure they're also great. Note, though, that it is larger than Ethereum, larger than ZK Sync and Stella, etc. This is really important because they are essentially trying to bridge from TradFi to DeFi. And that's what 10 is. It's this kind of blockchain that enables this. Okay, so let's continue. What makes 10 unique? Okay, well, now I get to explain to you what a TEE is. Encrypted execution. Smart contracts run inside TEEs, shielding data from sequencers, validators, and bots. All right, so what is a TEE? A TEE is a trusted execution environment. And essentially what that is like you have your, say, your CPU or something. A chunk of that CPU is dedicated towards a TEE, or it could be a separate chip. But in most situations, it's actually a chunk of what you have. And what that means is that things run inside of this, and what goes inside is only known to what's inside. It's like a black box in an airplane. Okay, so in this example, this may be something like a banking app. If you want to send money from your bank to another bank, well, you click Go in the app, it sends that Go message into the TEE. The TEE actually executes this transaction, right? So it signs it with your password and things like that, and then the money is sent. Okay, so a more clear example, here you go. Here's the banking app. So the banking app sends an API into the trusted execution environment. The API then triggers whatever it needs to be doing. So let's say a trusted application payment, okay, and then the result is sent back to your front end so you can see success. All right, but remember, this is a blockchain we're talking about. So the same sort of process that I just described is now possible with smart contracts. The easiest way to understand this is with on-chain randomness. Right now, if you're using something like Binance or Ethereum or Base, all of these are going to be using a system like Pyth or Chainlink. This is Chainlink here. And what that means is I click, like, for example, let's say poker. I click buy new hand. And that buy new hand sends a message to the VRF coordinator. And this is like Chainlink's contract. This coordinator then sends to their Oracle network, which gets a random number. The random number comes back to the VRF and then sends to your contract. This process takes about a couple seconds to maybe 30 seconds, okay, depending on the network. So this is a long process. Like, it should not take 30 seconds to get a random number. It's also somewhat expensive because you're having to pay for all these kind of different steps along the way. But with the magic of TEEs and with 10 protocol, I click buy hand and now I have my poker hand immediately in the same transaction. I click buy and zoop, here it is. This is because that process, the actual node or validator, they can create that random number and give it back to you, and no one knows what it is because it's happening inside of the TEE. Another really awesome example of how this is used is for MEV protection, right? So front running. If you don't know what front running is, it means like you may have heard of a sandwich attack, right? So I want to buy 1 million alpha stack tokens. Okay, so here's my 1 million buy order. Well, this is going to go into a thing called a MEV pool, and everyone that's watching the MEV pool can see my 1 million alpha stack buy order. So if I was smart, I could put a buy before I buy the 1 million, and then I could put in a sell after, and then it would make that kind of arbitrage difference. So this is bad for you because it increases your price. But 10 fixes this, like I said, fixes this by encrypting transactions. Nobody can peek, nobody can reorder. You experience a smooth and seamless onboarding intersection, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so another really excellent use case. What else is here? So AI native, right? So if an agent, there's things like Cerebros, right? Which is like an AI agent crypto bot thing. Okay, but actually that's happening on-chain, so everything's transparent, and there's probably some sort of server that's running and actually computing that code. Well, with 10 and with TEEs, you can actually have these agents talking to each other, and you can verify that, yes, this agent did this thing by itself, and no one interacted or no one manipulated it. Anything else here? Anyways, I'm going to move on to the end of this video. So the last thing I wanted to mention is, I guess I should say the tokenomics, they have 1 billion total supply. I think this is the Zen token or 10 token, and this is probably for something like staking, for proof of stake, whatever. Testnet is currently active, and it's doing very, very well. I've interacted with it myself, and it's excellent. It's fast and secure. Funding, like I said, they've raised 9 million. They're worth 30 million value pre-token valuation. I actually think it's probably higher at this point. There's some vulnerabilities because a TEE is somewhat new technology. TEEs were first introduced with the original kind of smartphones back in the day, and they've iterated upon that, so now the technology is much more efficient and much more helpful, but there's still some risks. And finally, campaign rewards. So if you are wanting to interact with 10 and learn more, I recommend you visit their cookie fund page, cookie.fund/tokens/10. And this is where you can do their on-chain actions or do their snaps, right? So snap is like you do something on X and it verifies that, and then you get points, and then in the future you'll have some sort of airdrop. So if you are interested in 10, I recommend you do this. Right now they are killing it. You can see that they have a 99.6% community sentiment. Awesome. So thank you for watching this video. I hope that you like the video, and I hope that you interact with 10 and get in. It's pre-TGE, so they will launch soon. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.